Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all are doing well. When I upload this, it should be Christmas Eve's Eve or somewhere around there. So happy holidays. In that kind of Christmas holiday spirit, I thought I'd break down one of the darkest beats I've done in a long time. So we are breaking down this beat. It's called Apocalypse. It sounds like this. So this beat was actually just inspired by this little radio clip I found in, I think, like a Saint pack. That just sounds like this.
We will continue to keep you informed as this
So it was kind of just like a emergency broadcast, kind of like doomsday kind of announcement kind of thing. And I thought that would make a pretty good intro for a track. So I built this little melody underneath that. It's just a nice little bell one shot, I believe. It's just a super simple pattern in, I think, B minor. It's just going through the scale, lots of half steps for that dark tension. And I actually made the pattern without the halftime that you hear in the intro. So it sounded like this without halftime.
Government officials insist that this
So it's kind of syncopated almost. It's like offbeat a little bit, or not offbeat, but it's got a kind of a weird groove to it. And then for the intro, I did decide to halftime it, and that just sounds like this. Okay, and then the next thing I did was just add this little string line, which is also just a one shot. And I made this melody out of it, literally just made of half steps to really add to that tension.
we will continue to keep you informed as this story
So for effects on that main bell, without anything, it sounds like this. So kind of just like a really dull kalimba kind of thing. So I just threw a wider on it, spread it out a bit, a nice fruity reverb, quite wet, pretty high decay, separated it all the way, just a low high for a low pass filter, EQ to cut out those lows, RF destroyer on the chorus 1 preset, and then that halftime that you hear in the intro and then in this section. Then for the strings with no effects, they sound like this. So super like tinny and cheap sounding, but I added an Echo Boy on the reverse strummers preset, and I just brought the mix down to like a quarter. Then a pretty wet, again, tall reverb, and a FabFilter Pro Q3 just to cut off the lows and then roll off the highs. So it makes them sound a lot more full and a lot more wide. And then once I had those down, because that was pretty much the like melodic backbone to the whole beat, was just these two things right here. Because I don't really like to overcomplicate these kind of like Night Lovell, Suicide Boys kind of things melodically, because I think the drums are like the main backbone to the beat pretty much. So I just started with a nice simple snare kick pattern. Nothing fancy. I did add this little perk sound, as well as this perk loop. And this is from the same Saint kit, I believe, and I just pitched it down an octave, and then I cut out a few spots that I didn't want. So we got that nice kind of spooky feel going on so far. Next I added some hats. Didn't want to do like a regular two-step on this one, so I kind of just took a few minutes and just clicked in a pattern I liked. It's just a nice, simple, repetitive hi-hat loop that even like stands on its own kind of, which is something I like to make sure my hats do, is if you solo it, if it still sounds kind of cool and catchy, then you know you got a good hi-hat loop. So So there's that repeating theme of these sixth rolls right here and these stutters every once in a while. So it's got a nice like groove to it. Then finally, my favorite part of the drums that I added, well, not finally, because I did quite a bit more, but in this section was this 808, which goes kind of stupid. So a super simple pattern, it just repeats the whole song, but the 808 sound that I used and the way I processed it, I think takes it to a pretty cool place. The 808 I used was this Tunnel Vision 808 from Ronnie J's Splice Kit, which goes pretty hard by itself, I guess. But then I added some trash to it, the negative preset in the fuzz bank, and I just brought it all the way down. And then I also, on top of that, threw an imager. I just brought the lows to the middle so the like the sub frequencies aren't on the edge of the stereo space and it doesn't muddy it up. And then I cloned that 808 sound. Didn't do anything to the actual sample, but I threw it in a different mixer channel and I cut out all of the lows and I trashed it in a different preset. This one's the Rubber Hammer preset from the Stort Bank, and then I raised it up an octave from the original pattern, and by itself that sounds like this. So it's literally just like a really high crunch sound, but layered on top. It just adds another dimension to the 808, which I thought was pretty cool. And then underneath this whole thing is just this little texture. So then we get to this section right here, where we add another perk loop. And then I also added this little counter melody. Even more half steps. So if you take one thing away from this video, it's use half steps for darkness, I guess. So then once I had these two sections kind of put together, I went back and I just built this intro section, which is just the hats with a different, way simpler pattern, also brought down an octave, and then also another perk loop, also just pitched down an octave.
We will continue to keep you informed as this story.
So that underneath the half-timed melody and that radio clip really just build the atmosphere up, so you kind of like are anticipating something super dark going into the drop, and then you're hit with something what I would say is even darker than what you would expect, but who knows. Then after that, I went on to this kind of like bridge, kind of interlude section kind of thing. I just added this Vox, and then in the second half, I added just the classic trap high sound. Layered it with a perk loop, the snare, 808, kick, that first bell, and then I also just added some harmonies to these strings, just an octave and then a third and then some other stuff, just to like make it sound like it was changing a bit, give it some evolution right before another drop hit. Yeah, that sounds like this. Alright, now for the part that I think makes the beat. Really, I already said that about the 808, but like I think this actually does. It's just this little drum fill that I distorted the hell out of and layered with the 808 and the kick. Sounds pretty fucking sick if you ask me. But I play that pretty much at the end of every 4-bar loop during the like drum sections, and then also right leading into the drop most of the time. Gives it a nice little like turnaround effect. And I also, in a couple parts, cut out the melody and the other drums when the fill hits, so it sounds even harder. And then after that, it was pretty much just these crashes, both from my new drum kit, Vertigo. You can cop that in the description. Some risers, my tag, and then this little section here where I just took another section of the radio sample, which was even darker than the first one somehow. It's like, I think it's from like some kind of old movie or something.
These are the end of days.
These are the end of days.
All of humanity should gather as one in prayer for the preservation of the living and the soul of the dead. May God have mercy on us all.
I thought that was pretty sick. The may God have mercy on us all. For that drum fill, I thought that was pretty cool. The only other effects really are on these perk loops. This one just has a bandpass filter, a shrinked preset stereo shaper, and then a little bit of reverb. Just kind of like bury it back in the mix a bit. And then this one just has a low pass to cut out some lows. And then this fill just has an isotope trash on the negative preset, and I just messed with this setting a bit till I got the crunch I wanted from it. But yeah, that's pretty much the beat. I don't think I missed anything. A few arrangement things here and there, like dropping out the drums and the melody when that fill hits. And then, like I've said before, I usually drop out my drums at the last snare. But yeah, beyond that, that's pretty much the beat. I think the main things that really make the beat are just the 808 and this drum fill. They kind of carry the whole thing. The melody isn't doing much except in this section here where there's a couple harmonies added, but then they go away pretty quick. There's this barely audible kind of counter melody, but that goes away for most of the beat. There's some cool like percussion loops that do add a lot to the beat, in my opinion. But yeah, it's mainly the 808 and that drum fill, I think, and maybe this radio effect thing. But yeah, it's a pretty simple beat. I will play the whole thing after this. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed or if you learned anything, go ahead and like and subscribe. It's free and it helps me out a lot. Let me know what kind of video you guys want from me next. I've been doing a lot of breakdowns, but I could do some more like beat cookups and stuff like that. Make sure you check out my drum kit, Vertigo, and stay on the lookout for my sample pack. I'm coming out with Scandy soon. It's called Silhouettes. Go ahead and follow me on Instagram at prodby_instinct, and go check out my main channel, which I will link all over the place probably in this video. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas, and I will see you next time. Peace.
Government officials insist that this is an isolated incident.
Instinct.
We will continue to keep you informed as this story unfolds. That's the part that could be bad. Can be bad to our